morning. Welcome to the Signature Sales Meeting for this Tuesday at 9:30. If you're not here, missing out on spinach quiche, bacon, fruit, hash browns, and lots of great networking. So, first of all, does anybody who's in the audience have any wants and needs?
Oh, I have one.
Oh, Chris.
I have a new listing, believe it or not. I found the only guy ready to sell it. It's on the Old Vegas Trail in Henderson. It's going to be 365, 4-bedroom, 3.5 baths.
And for those people who are new, where's the Old Vegas Trail?
It's as far as you can go until you hit the covered wagon. It's way out there.
Okay, anybody else? Yes, Annie.
Is that where you live?
I have one going that live is either today or tomorrow. It's a 3-bedroom, 3 bath in Anthem Highlands out there for $435.
And Annie Bushman has a new one going live tomorrow in Anthem Highlands. Anybody else?
I got one going live on Friday.
Oh, is that the one you told me about? Oh, that sounds fabulous.
Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful home, 3,200 square feet, 1.5 million. You've never seen views like this in your life. I mean, a lot of great views out there. But everything from the kitchen outside is up with a pizza oven. Everything is top of the line. It's beautiful, beautiful. Yeah. So we're gonna go live Friday.
Where's that?
It's over by Far Hills and 215 West Side.
I'll take it. 1.5.
1.5 with a pizza oven in the backyard. Anybody else? Okay, I have one. So it's that time. Normally that time is in April, but due to what's happened, and now it's going to be in July, and that is the LVR bowling tournament. Now, this is a fundraiser for the Community Outreach Committee, and not only that, Signature has had many teams ever since this company started. We pay our $25. The money goes to charity. We wear our red Signature t-shirts. And I have a little poll so I can get all our lanes all in a row so that we make a statement. So not only are we giving back to the community, we're networking. And it's only $25. I don't care how bad you bowl. Now, it's been my goal for the past 8 years to at least have a team come in second. Well, that hasn't happened yet, but I do stack one team. All the rest of the teams, it's just for fun. I don't care how bad you are. It's $25. Sign up, please, through me so that I will know who's bowling, and I can make arrangements to get all our lanes in a row. So, if you want to drive to the Signature office in Summerlin, that's great. Otherwise, I'm here every Tuesday morning. So do it quickly because it's Friday, July 30th, 9 to 12 at Sunset Station. So, next, Jason from Prosperity Lending.
Yay, Jason! No document.
Probably should have worn one actually because I was going to talk about it a little bit. But yes, so yeah, I'm Jason. I'm from Prosperity Lending. Just going to spend a couple of minutes today talking about a couple of newer programs that we have. We're going to be doing a lunch and learn tomorrow if you'd like to come. Also too, it's going to be on the stated income program. So I thought I'd do the short and sweet version this time and do the more thorough version tomorrow is going to be the plan. But the state income one, we have a brand new one that fits pretty well. So I'm going to talk about the scenario. We just got one that's about a $1.4 million purchase, and this couple had worked with Bank of America for years. But they got a brand new restaurant, and the brand new restaurant had a lot of losses in 2019, and they haven't done their 2020 tax returns. And long story short, Bank of America had to tell them that they couldn't do anything for them, and their rate was, beautiful at 2.75 and no points. It was the perfect loan. But unfortunately, it didn't work out, and these people are already in contract, actually, as we speak. So the referral came over. Our situation can make it work. We have both a no-doc program where somebody can literally just basically turn in a FICO score and enough money to be able to show that they can make a 25% down payment. or the program that we're using with this one is called a light doc, which is very, very similar. The customer writes their own basically profit and loss that's unaudited, that says what they're making, shows that they've been in business for about a year or longer, shows they've got a 720 credit score or more, and shows that they could put 20% down instead of 25% down, and they're approved basically. We obviously still have to do an appraisal, make sure that the home is worth what it's supposed to be worth, but it quite literally is that simple. It's a very, very easy loan. Now there's a catch to everything that's easy out there. The rate is going to be much higher for this one. The rate's going to be right around like the 5.5 range, and they have to pay 2 points up front. But there's no prepayment penalty for this. So after they complete their 2020 and then next year their 2021 tax returns, they're going to look to refinance it, and hopefully they're going to stay with us and they like the job that we did, and we'll be the one refinancing them at 2.75 instead of Bank of America. But if they still like them too, they can give it a shot. But the difference is that this deal isn't dead now, is the main thing. And they're not going to a hard money lender that's closer to around anywhere from 9 to 13% and many more points, and sometimes does have a prepayment penalty. So it's kind of a nice hybrid mid-range out there. Some of you might know and might be thinking to yourself, how do they beat the ability to repay? Nevada has a rule that says that the borrower has to be able to show that they can repay their mortgage. Their thought is that they're a federal company that we're brokering out to, that's within New York, and that federal supersedes state. And the other part of it too is that they've worked with their attorneys and with the state, and they basically come up with the amount of the down payment and the FICO score is the difference between the old stated. You might be thinking to yourself, oh my gosh, stated income killed everything before. That's when they went to 100%, and they had negative amortization, and they had situations where they were probably qualifying people that they couldn't. Their theory is that if they've got the good credit score and they've got the really high down payment, that this is something that they can do. So if you'd like to learn more about that program, please join us at our Lunch and Learn. It'll be here at this office at 12. Pick up some free lunch, basically. Another one, just the very quick version, we have a doctor loan program that's out there. This isn't unique to us, but it's a very good program, and we're one of the few that does carry it, where doctors can put 5% down, and the biggest kicker is their student loans aren't included into their payments. This is huge for your newer doctors. A lot of your newer doctors, anywhere from 25 to 30 years old, are making good income and have good FICO scores, but they have so much in student loan debt that they might not qualify for what they want. This helps them with that. So, thank you guys for the time. I'm going to hand it back to Janet, and thank you, Beth. Hopefully see you tomorrow.
Thank you, Jason. Okay, so today's program is something that you should all be very interested in, and it's appraisals. I think in this market, agents are having a hard time pricing a property. I had one tell me, well, there's an exact model match that closed last week for $310, but my seller's going to put it on the market for $340. I'm like, well, somebody might come in from California and pay cash, or somebody else has an FHA loan and it's like, I can't pay over appraisal. And what is happening with appraisals today? I've seen some come in $40,000. One I saw just in the past week, $50,000 low. And then I had an agent say to me, well, the appraisal only came in $4,000. What's low? What the heck? So it's a mess out there with appraisals. And now Shelley from Prosperity Lending is going to help us straighten all this out.
All right.
Hey, Shelley!
Okay, I'm going to grab a second mic. But before I do, does everybody know it's Prime Day today for Amazon? So I just wanted to show you my fancy new, oh, you guys got to stay cool, okay? I'm going to show you how cool this is. No, these are not headphones, and I don't know why it's not working outside. Yeah, it's hot outside, right? Go ahead, Ellie. These are not just speakers. These are actually, this is a fan. So for those of you who saw us on Real Estate Exposed, I was a hot mess on there because it was so hot, I could not cool down, and so literally jumped off the set. And somebody told me about these cool, this cool little fan. So it's a fan that you can wear, which will cool you down. So if you happen to see me sweat, I'm going to turn this up on high. But I do want to bring up our favorite appraiser, Harry Smalls from Benchmark Appraisal. Please give it up for Harry. Let me get myself situated. Who's going to the game tonight, by the way?
Yeah.
Yeah? All right. Okay, so if you guys are going, text Myra on the app and let her know, because we'll be there early so we can all have a cocktail or something like that together. Do you have your mic? Oh my God, it does eat your hair. That's not good. Okay, all right. So Harry, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know, so Harry is with Benchmark Appraisals. You've been a vendor of ours for many years, but tell everybody a little bit about who you are and how long you've been in business.
I've been doing appraisals for 32 years now, all in Vegas, all full-time. I've owned Benchmark for about 25 years. Been working with Shelley for what, at least a decade or more.
Yeah, well, they only know I've only been in the business like 5 years, so I'm just kidding. Just out of elementary school. For at least a decade, I think. Yeah, with our team.
I believe I'm starting to get a handle on the appraisal business, so I'm happy to answer any questions I might.
Yeah, we brought the right guy to the panel. So the main reason I brought Harry in here was, not me, or is because he's been a wealth of knowledge for us, and he's also really, really great at answering our questions. So I have already gotten some questions from your broker, so I'm going to start off really by just asking how the market is.
Crazy.
Crazy?
You guys know that, right? Yeah. It's kind of reminiscent of 05, 06. It's getting that way, kind of crazy.
And what do you mean by that?
Just everything's out of control. Like, people are offering way over list price, and inventory is low. But the thing that kind of is a mystery to me is we're still got lots of sales, but the inventory just remains really low, so.
Did you hear that? We have lots of sales. Everybody, all I keep hearing is inventory's too low, inventory's too low. But we have lots of sales. That's coming from your appraiser right here. So what are you seeing in the market when you're talking about, I know we had a conversation earlier that everybody's, there's a lot of ask over or appraisals that are coming in short, but you're seeing a lot of listings or a lot of contracts coming in over appraised value. Mm-hmm. What percentage would you say is coming in like that, where you're seeing over list?
Offers over list?
Yeah. Or no, what contracts over list?
Almost 100%. I mean, almost everybody's offering over list right now.
Wow. And so in the areas that they are over list, is there specific, like how are you guys actually appraising those in, because it's happening fast, right? It's not just, this hasn't been something that, I mean, I feel like the over list has been for the last, 6 months?
Yeah.
How are you appraising for that based on the time?
Well, the appraisal procedures never change. We always have to look at, we always look at historical values. Like, I know you guys always project, what's the sales price going to be in 3 months or 30 days or a week after I list this property. But appraisers look at historical stuff, like we're looking for the most recent sales. Like somebody said an example just a minute ago about a house, a model match that sold a week prior, and they wanted to list at 40,000 more. That just doesn't work for appraisers. We're looking at that last sale, and that's pretty much the benchmark. The only thing we can do is we establish what the rate of increase is, so we can go back and say, okay, well, if this contract went in 30 days ago, we can add, say the market's going up 2% a month, which is a little odd right now, but we can add 2% of that sales price. So if it's 200,000, we might could bump it 4, but that's about as much as we can go. And the other thing that people don't realize is every time we turn in an appraisal, it goes directly to Fannie Mae, and they run it through their automated system, and they'll rate it from 1 to 5, and a 5 is, is like almost a rejection.
Yeah, so that's more on the lender side, right? So we see, it's not even condition anymore, it's really a rating. So the appraisals are now also being kind of underwritten through automated process, which he's talking as far as the Fannie Mae. So conventional financing, really. Does
FHA goes through it too.
Oh, it does, okay.
Every appraisal goes to Fannie Mae now.
So if something comes back as an alert, and an alert would be really market increase.
Overvaluation.
Yeah. So everybody is being really diligent around, this overvaluation and making sure that comps and such are supported. So how are you evaluating that in this type of a market? So as you said, a home closes a month ago at $300,000, and then we have a new buyer who's come on board and down the street is buying a new home and it's $340,000. This equation that you have rate of increase, is that just across the board in the valley? Is it specific to neighborhoods?
Every neighborhood is different. Like East Side might be the lower end houses sometimes go up a little quicker than the higher end houses, but it's all a percentage. Like the east side might be going up 2% a month, maybe somewhere in Summerlin might be a 1.5%. Every market is different. Just like every adjustment is different. A pool is different in one area than another area. Same with site size. Some places the site size might be worth 0, and other places it's worth thousands and thousands of dollars.
What about solar? I feel like there's a lot of homes, and new builders today are actually putting solar on homes as part of their roof package.
Yeah, so the way the government looks at it is if it's financed or if it's leased, it's worth 0. And if it's owned, it's worth a percentage. It's just, again, it's just all market area.
Okay, so because I've had agents ask, so if a client a seller has solar on there today, they're asking what that valuation would look like. So you're saying really 0 increase
If it's been financed, like if they're making payments on it until it's paid off and then it's theirs, it's worth 0. And if it's leased, like from Solar City or whatever, then it's also 0.
Okay, got it. So one of the questions on here is, what are the issues you're seeing, or what are the condition issues you're seeing with most of the appraisals?
Hardly any conditions for conventional, but it's just the standard stuff for FHA. It's like water heater straps or broken windows, that kind of thing, paint.
Yeah.
But pretty much, I'm not really seeing that many distressed properties now.
People are actually the older homes though, right? More that need to be renovated. What about in the condition of?
Sorry, can you ask him can you be more specific on the paint issue? Because everybody heard paint, not
Sure.
And I just want to make sure we're not talking about interior paint in the house.
No, FHA's only concerned with like the exterior, and they're only really concerned with bare wood, unless it's older after, I think it's 76, where the lead base paint comes in. If it's flaking, then they're concerned with that too. But it's basically just if there's exposed raw wood.
Perfect, thank you.
What percentage of appraisals are you doing that are conventional FHA and VA? Do you know that number?
Most, like, because of the price range for FHA, very few FHAs nowadays, because it's past the threshold.
Yeah. Are you seeing a lot of VAs?
I don't do VA.
So conventional, that's right, you do have to be an approved appraiser for VA. What about jumbo financing? Are you seeing a lot in the jumbo?
A lot of the jumbo stuff I'm seeing, the ones I'm doing, most of the comps are cash sales.
Oh,
So,
you're doing them actually for cash? Oh, the comps are
no,
cash.
the comps
okay.
I'm using, I mean, I've done, probably do maybe a dozen a month of over, $1 million, $1.5 million, $2 million. I did one for 7.5 the other day, but,
Where was that at? And who was the agent on it? I'm just kidding.
it's up in Summerlin, but, almost all the comps are cash sales, even the ones that are, 7, 5, 7, 10 million are cash.
Yeah.
Very few finance that, I mean, when you get around the 1.5 million, and under, a lot of those are financed, but over that, most of them are cash.
So how do you, because most of those homes in the higher price range are either custom, or there's not a ton of comps in that area, right? That are the same homes that are in that 1.5, even 2 or 3. How do you value those in the higher end price range?
I mean, it's the same procedure. You just look for, like properties. When you get into the upper levels, like this 7 and 10 million, there's not a whole lot of comps, so you go all over town. But most of the time, when you get to that strata, they're pretty much all the same quality, just really high quality. But even I'm seeing tract houses now for $1.4 million, so.
Yeah. So so in the new construction side, obviously you've got the subdivision that's there, but in your custom home builders, how are you, especially with the inventory where they're at, sellers are not necessarily selling. So how are you getting comps that are like up-to-date comps, so to speak? Or you're just going across the valley, or it's not really relevant then for us to look at a comp inside the subdivision that may have sold a year ago or 2 years ago?
No, not anywhere close to a year ago. I try to stay within at least 6 months, even with custom stuff.
Yeah.
And I just look for the same amenities. Like if it's on a golf course, say in Southern Highlands, I'm looking, starting in Southern Highlands, but then, I might go to McDonald Ranch or Seven Hills or Anthem.
And that's acceptable on your higher end stuff. What about in regards to that? So if you're obviously in our market where inventory is a little bit lower, you've got the price ranges increasing, but you don't necessarily have a model match just on a $300,000, $400,000 square foot home. How do you go and find a comp for that type of a home? You know, where the model match may have closed. Like there's some subdivisions that don't turn over, right? And so how do you go and find a comparable for that type of a product?
It's the same process again. You start as close as you can, and then you just keep expanding, and then you just keep going. If that doesn't work, you just go back in time. But I know I have a lot of friends in Fannie Mae, and they tell me what their computer first looks at is...
Take notes, everyone. This is what they first look at.
In the subdivision. So I've had appraisals come back with a high score, and they said, just put this comp in that was closed 6 months ago, and your score will change. So I've done that, not given it any consideration, but just had it in the appraisal, and it's come in 2 points lower.
Wow, so old school rule of thumb was just, like inside, outside, one pending, or whatever the case is. Now there's actually an algorithm almost in what would make these, is it like the rating, so to speak, be acceptable for Fannie Mae?
Right.
What happens if you can't get the rating to be any lower? 3 is acceptable, right? 3 and 4 is acceptable. 5 is requiring a second appraisal, I think.
Yeah, or field review.
Yeah. So that's been something that's new for us. So what Harry is talking about is with this automation and review in the appraisal process, if it comes back at a 4 or 5 for us lenders, it's going to require typically a second review. So for us, we've been able to kind of switch, because Freddie doesn't have it yet. At some point it will follow suit. But unfortunately, it's one of those things that have to be run through our automated system first, and the appraisal comes in. You get notification of it once it's submitted, right?
If it's really poor, you do. Right.
Okay.
Yeah. And if it's really poor, then you get a nasty letter from Fannie Mae that says,
You made a mistake?
Again.
Oh, God. What happens? Do you get penalized?
What's that?
Do you get a penalty, or do you get penalized? Is there a fee?
They can take you off their panel and you don't work anymore if it's really egregious.
Wow.
I've only known one person
In
throughout
Vegas?
the United States that's got that dinger, but
Wow.
yeah.
Anybody here in he's not in Las Vegas?
No.
Okay, perfect. And so what can the agent do to support the process, especially if there's really a lack of comps today?
I think the most important thing, this has happened to me a few times, it's really helpful, that an agent will meet me out and I'll find 2 or 3 comps in a subdivision, but they'll come out and say, I showed that house and it had a horrible kitchen, something that I would never know because a photographer can make a pig look really good, right? So,
Only the guy that did my photo.
but to have that first-hand information that, hey, yeah, that comp down there that sold for $20,000 less, was totally trashed. I mean, that's excellent information for an appraiser. So that really helps. Just anything like that, any information you can give, even upgrades on your listing or whatever, that's great stuff.
Okay, so, because that was also another question. So what you're saying is, you know what the comps are, right? As a listing agent, you know what the comps are, you know what maybe the pictures are looking like, but you know not necessarily that the pictures look exactly like the home. Maybe everybody knows that our photographers do a really good job of making something, avoiding the stain on the carpet or the hole in the wall or whatever the case may be. In those situations, as you're preparing for the appraiser to come out there, having that information, having the comps available will help the agent who's listing the home to be prepared for that. Maria?
So in that case, since we sometimes don't even know when the appraisers are going out, should we be providing that to the lender? Because
Great question.
we don't even know who the appraiser is half the time. So I find that a lot of times the comps are subjective. Like I can find something that completely supports the appraisal, and I can also find something that supports my pricing. So with that being said, do we just give it to a lender, or how do we get that to you?
A lot of times I'll find a packet when I get, especially on vacant houses, agents will leave a packet on the kitchen.
With a gift, nothing but cake, Hey, here's a nice, here's a cake for you as you walk through the house to evaluate the, just kidding, for those of you on YouTube, that's not the case.
But you should be getting notified. Like my company notifies everybody when we're coming out.
No? Kind of go out. Except next thing we know, we have a report and it's done. We don't even know sometimes I mean, I don't know, am I the only one, but.
No, it's true.
I saw a lot of times when the appraisals are done.
You must be using the wrong vendor.
Yeah. No, she was us. No, we do get an inspection date from the appraiser. I think sometimes it's one of those things that that for them, they're not notified that you're gonna be out there at that certain time. In some cases, you're not, it's not exactly at that time. It's like a rough estimate around that area. But I would say for those sellers who have done some recent improvements, we're always asking for the list of improvements, right? And you don't necessarily need to see receipts and all that stuff. If they just did a one-pager.
Yeah, just a list of what they've done, like new air conditioners or just, flooring, whatever they've done. It's just good to know.
Yeah, Boya.
And then, I'm sorry, and then lots of times, appraisers also don't go to the property. They just give you an appraisal. Is that normal, or is that something?
That's not normal.
No.
So they have to go to the property, right?
Well, it's required, there are some appraisals, they call them drive-bys, but they're so rare now.
Yeah.
All of them require it. Do you do any drive-bys anymore?
I haven't done an external it's either it's a appraisal waiver or it's a full inspection.
During the height of COVID, there was a product that was a desktop that they were using, but I think that was just for people with super good credit.
Yeah, that would allow it. But that would be, again, something that's done through automated underwriting. But, I guess that's a good point, so you're saying your company actually lets the AMC know, right? But do you also communicate with the listing agent as to when the inspection is done?
My secretary or appraisers will always call the listing agent to verify, to make an appointment first of all, and if it's vacant, just to tell them that, we're going to be there on Tuesday or whatever.
Okay.
On a vacant, maybe not so much a specific time, but we'll always say what day we're going to be there.
Michelle,
Yeah.
on the list of upgrades that a seller would provide, do you need how much they spent for each of those upgrades, or does that factor into what you do? You just want to know what the items are?
It would be good. I mean, it doesn't have to be exact, but say, they put 50 grand in or whatever, just put, kitchen, baths, whatever, approximately 50,000 or whatever that number is.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good to know.
So when we know that it's been renovated, and usually that conversation comes from the buyer and the buyer's agent, oh, we've just found this home, it's an older home, but it's been fully renovated. That's usually the first trigger for us to ask the listing agent before we submit it to get us a list of the improvements. And then there's some where you can see just visually on the pictures that it looks like something's been upgraded based off of, and our buyer's agents are the ones that really notify us, like, hey, this kitchen is amazing. They just went and added brand new flooring, whatever the case would be. All of those things, we can, as a lender, as we're preparing to order the appraisal, we'll go to the listing agent to ask if those things have been added and ask them for that list of improvements for us, because it's going to help in some case at least to let the appraiser know. The one thing that I wasn't aware of is, and it makes sense because we actually have an appraisal today, the comps, really for you're not going into the comps and checking out the homes, right? It's just based off of MLS and
Yeah, what we'll do is we'll look at the MLS photos, but again,
Yeah.
like you say, you can make those photos look really good.
yeah. So
And some of the comments on MLS too will say,
stunning,
Yeah.
charming.
yeah, and then you actually look at the pictures and it's like, oh, that carpet doesn't look that stunning to me, or this and that, you know what I mean?
Depends on who you ask.
Yeah, and sometimes I'll read and it'll say completely remodeled, and then at the very bottom on the condition, it will say fair. And it's like, well, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So I'll make calls to the listing agents and say, like, what was really done to this, and you
Yeah.
never know who's telling the truth.
Well, so that actually kind of brings me into the reconsideration process, right? So we'll get an appraisal in, and as you heard Janet mention, some appraisals are coming in 20,000, some are coming in 4,000 short, some are actually coming in over sales price. If you're reconsidering or you want to go through the reevaluation process, how does an agent actually do that? What's the best way to kind of present that to an appraiser, to present it to us as a lender to provide to you?
The only way is just with comparables. So if you've got comparables that the appraiser missed, or if you know something specific about a comp that he used that he might have missed, then that's really the only way. You can't attack him and say, you didn't use the right comps if you don't have other comps to support what your value is. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
An appraiser has to have support for anything he does. Like, if you adjust for a pool and you have no pool comps in your report, then you have no support for that pool adjustment. So we have to use pool comps for pool comps, views for views.
Can you?
Just apples and apples is what we say.
So if you, going back into the inventory being one of the concerns, so if you have a home that doesn't have, or that has a pool, and you have homes in the area that are recent comps that don't have a pool, how do you evaluate that as a comp? Or vice versa, if you have a home that has, it doesn't have a pool, but your most recent model match comp is one that has a pool, can you use that as a comp?
Yeah, so what we'll do, we'll just mix them up. So we'll use the ones in the subdivision, even though, say they don't have a pool, but to justify that pool adjustment that we need to make, we'll go outside and find a couple, the same similar houses, one with a pool, one without, get that adjustment and then apply it. And that's how we come up with that value.
Okay, so it wouldn't be something that you'd go further in time to find another home that perhaps sold with a pool or without a pool, whatever the subject property is, and then adjust based off time, right? You'd want to find something that's most recent that is closed and make adjustments off of that.
And then if that doesn't work, then we go back in time and we don't make it dollar for dollar, we use a percentage. So like maybe 2 years ago, a pool might have been worth, 10% off the top. So if it was 200, that would have been 20,000, but today's value is 300, so that pool 10% is worth 30,000.
I got you. Perfect. Go ahead, Chris.
So you said something that makes a lot of sense to me now. So I've only had one that I've ever contested come back and be changed, and I only changed by $2,000, so it didn't really help anything. But you made the statement that you don't see inside of the comps, and so a lot of agents, when they get that message, it's to send new comps, right? And so if I were to actually go take photos of the comparison that I'm sending in versus just the sheet, because you use the MLS just like we do.
Sure.
So you already saw the comps that I'm sending, but if I went and got photos and actually upgrades or changes and I sent that over, I'd be able to really impact the appraisal and provide you with the info that you probably didn't have in the beginning that could actually cause it to change.
Correct, right.
I've been in the business 20 years. I've never heard that from anybody until just now. That was huge.
Well, I'm sorry.
He's been here only
No
once.
shit, me too.
Wait, so basically what Chris is saying, for those of you online, so ultimately, if you should be prepared for that from a listing agent standpoint, right? If you know that this home is going to be used as a comp, and you yourself are using it as a comp, and you know the pictures may be prettier than what the actual home is, that's an opportunity for you to provide that information ahead of time. In a situation of a reconsideration, that would also be another situation where you're stating, or you're providing that information to the appraiser. What about if something happens to go from pending to closed in the time frame that you've viewed the home in the time frame of that buyer closing? Would that be a reason for us to resubmit for a reconsideration?
No, because it's all about the effective date of the appraisal. So once the inspection's made, that's the date. So anything that happens after that is irrelevant.
Can we get you to go back out and re-inspect?
Well, you could do a whole new appraisal basically and change the effective date.
Okay.
But once it's done,
Yeah.
that's the date that everybody goes off of.
Okay, so really, that wouldn't even be considered a reconsideration. It would be a brand-new appraisal, ultimately,
Yeah.
getting a new date for inspection. Okay.
And what I've done before, I did a fourplex not too long ago, and there was 2 pending sales that would make the deal work. And the 2 that were pretty fresh were, I think they were 20 or 30,000 short. And so I called everybody and I said, if you guys want to hold up for like 30 days, this will work. And everybody agreed. And so we just put it on hold, and then I went back in 30 days and the deal worked.
This is why he's one of my favorite appraisers, because he's a deal maker. I know a lot of people think that appraisers are out there to strike the deal down, but he really is helpful when it comes to, even in general questions. So if you have sellers, you've given your business cards up. I don't know if you're willing to do that today, because I always defer or refer to him when you guys have any questions. He's the first person I go to, because he really does want to make the transaction close. So Monica, do you have
And
a...
here's one thing, there's no appraiser that doesn't want to make a deal. No appraiser wakes up in the morning and go, I want to kill a deal. Like, I have guys that work in my office that lose sleep, they'll call me and they'll go, I'm going to be short on this deal and it's driving me crazy, because you see a contract and you just think, well, that's the market, but if you can't prove it, then you can't prove it.
So, before I get to you, Monica, so that's actually one of the questions. So, we're trying to understand, some appraisals will come in like 25,000 over. Some appraisals will just come in at the sales price, and obviously we're seeing a lot right now that are coming in short. Why, I mean, it's very rare to see an appraisal go way over in value, and obviously it's because you've got comps to support it.
Right.
But I feel more times you're seeing the appraisal just come right in at value. Is that just because what would you say is the reason for that?
There's a lot of, I'm not speaking for myself. There's a lot of appraisers that think when they have a contract that is the market deal, so whatever their grid is showing them, that's what they're going to come in at. You know what I mean? It's like, if it's exactly 200, even though should be 205, they're going to come in at 200. That's just their mindset.
Yeah.
But when something comes way over, I mean, not every deal is a market deal. There's some that's way under. Like I've done stuff with the agents actually come up and they go, come in as low as you can because I just wanted to get this deal done, basically, right? But I don't do that.
Yeah.
But there's some deals that are over and there's some deals that are under, and then there's some that are right on. So it's just the way it is.
Just
the nature of the beast.
Got it. Okay. Monica, I'll get to you, Maya.
So in the neighborhood that, like an HOA, because I'm new to HOAs here in Nevada, so working on a listing in an area, it's a HOA subdivision. Within it has like little mini subdivisions that are named. And so one of those areas has 4-bedroom homes, which is like what I'm working on. That one is on a golf course. There's another recent sale that's like on the clear other end of the neighborhood that's not near the golf course. It's not a model match, but it is a 4-bedroom home, so everything else is similar, square footage and everything, and that one recently sold. But there are model matches where the one I'm looking at taking that also recently sold, and the price difference is significant, but I don't, like, would you as an appraiser only look at those model matches or everything that's sold in the general area with 4 bedrooms?
So what I do is I pick the most prominent feature, which in your case would be the golf course. So I'd only look at golf course properties to begin with.
Okay. All right.
So that's like a village type situation, right? And you've got different products being built out there. Yeah, so it takes a village, exactly. So you would look within the first, inside of the master plan, I guess would be the right, you would look in the subdivision that they're selling in, right? And then you would look at the specific type of, like if it has the comps and such. Myra?
On refinances, so when somebody does a purchase, you said like they look at the sales price as like a target thing. What do they look for on refinances?
Just similar properties again, like there's no target number basically for, I shouldn't use that word target, but so they would just look for the most similar properties.
In the area. Any questions? Go ahead, Ellie.
How much are views worth? I don't mean the views where you have to stand on one leg and lean over and balance yourself. I'm talking about when you walk out, they're as clear as the day is long.
Sounds like 1.5.
I was going to say, sounds like a listing that Ellie has coming up.
Well, views are actually the hardest thing to value because they're all different. Like the house right next door to you might have a tree in front of it that's blocking part of the view, you know what I mean?
Right.
So that is the most difficult. But again, we just try to do the most similar we can. I did one in Lake Las Vegas just last week that had just a stellar view, and there was nothing else like it.
So how much did you get for that?
On that one, I think it was almost 200.
200 per square.
200,000.
200,000 just for the view?
Yeah.
Wow.
It was an expensive house.
What was the value of it? What was the agent? Was it
$2 million.
2 million? Pretty close. Pretty close. Yeah.
But I mean, this was absolutely unobstructed. It was on a cliff. There was, you couldn't even see a rooftop, all you could see was the
That's what this
city.
is.
1.8. I just heard 1.8.
Overappraised value, 1.8. Who's going first? Going once, going twice. Brandon.
So I have a question. We're seeing a lot of offers with the buyer willing to pay $8,000 above appraisal. Does that have an effect on the appraisal? Because we're also seeing a lot of appraisals come in miraculously $8,000 low when the buyer is willing to pay that $8,000, so it comes in at the list price.
It's not really about how much the guy's willing to pay, it's still about what we can prove. So a lot of times, what I'm seeing is, like, that 8,000 will be above list price, and it's already listed, like, right. Like, I haven't seen hardly any listings that are listed too low. They're always probably high, and when they're above list price, it's usually they better have some money in their pocket, I'm thinking.
Hard to make that adjustment.
Yeah.
Wow, lots of hands.
But when that closes, that's going to be the comp, right?
So, really quick, sorry, Jason. So normally in an appraisal, seller concessions affect how the comps are, right? If there's the FHA deal got $10,000 in seller in contribution versus the home that your subject property doesn't have any, does that have any bearing, knowing that it closed above appraised value, to an appraiser today looking at it? Or is it just the comp that sets it? Doesn't matter?
So like when we're looking at comps, when we're looking, it'll say the appraised value is this and it's sold for that. We don't look at the appraised value at all.
Got it. Okay.
It's just what it sells. Whatever it closes for, that's the sales price.
Perfect. Jason, sorry.
Yeah. How much does lot size versus the comparisons matter? Like, how much extra per square foot? I know everything's different, of course, but on average, if you have a lot size that's maybe twice the size of the comparison.
It all depends what neighborhood it is. Like some of the age-restricted communities, like lot size makes almost zero difference. Like I've done stuff that's almost on a half acre that's sold for the same price as one on because I don't want to take care of it. You know, I mean, it's just more burden. Like the east side, you might have $1 a square foot, and in Summerlin you might have 10. You know, it just every neighborhood is different.
What if you're within the same like subdivision and, you know, like location, right? They always say location, location, location. So you have one on a cul-de-sac, has more of a pie shape, bigger lot. The one that recently sold is more on your, you know, smaller lot. So you go from like a 6,000 to a 10,000. One based on the fact that it's inside of the cul-de-sac, the other one it's on the inside of the street. How would that fare inside of the same subdivision?
It'd probably have value, but I can't tell you how much.
Yeah.
It just depends where it's at. So you know that what we all learned in school is location, location, location.
Yeah.
Still applies to everything.
Got it.
Especially lot size.
Right.
The willingness to pay that $8,000 over appraisal isn't something that you can put on an addendum and then not forward straight away. As if like, we have this agreement, but let's not make it so that they come in $8,000 low.
Yeah.
That's not a thing, right?
That's not something that most lenders want to do, because on the flip side, if we forget that you guys have not provided an addendum that shows that the sales price is actually higher than what your borrower originally came in, and you want us to get to that sales price, that's the same thing. So we have to provide the fully executed contract, addendums, counters, and all that stuff. So it is there.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm just asking this in theory. So if I got, let's say, 20 offers and all of them are over list, and I presented parts of the offers in that packet, would you take into consideration that 20 people were offering over market for this house in any value?
No, because I still got to I have to go off the comps.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter that, like, you have a really popular house, but I still have to justify, like my whole deal is just collateral assessment, right,
Yeah.
for the loan.
Yeah, so I think in that case, so maybe a home in Summerlin would or in one specific subdivision would be more of a popular home, so to speak, right? And you're going to get more offers than a home. And I live in Green Valley, right off of who had that wagon wheel home, and so maybe that home's model match, but in Henderson, you know, out by the dam or whatever the case, has same lot size and such, doesn't compare because they only got a couple of counters or a couple of offers on that. So does that answer your question? Christina.
Would it make a difference how long it took to other house?
Days on market. So the question is, does days on market matter?
We look at that on the comp side, like on the subject side, not so much.
Follow up to your last question. Why do appraisals come in $2,000 below on a $400,000 house? I
Yeah,
mean,
why can't you just
what's the
stretch it?
rationale behind that?
Why can't you just give us a number?
Because it's not in the range, like, and these days, almost every appraisal I'm seeing, I do a lot of review stuff too, and it's all right at the top of the range. We have to have everything bracketed, like, if the sales price is 400, we've got to have stuff that's above 400. That's one of the problems we're having now, is because everything is going up so fast that if it's not bracketed, it gets kicked back.
I would almost think it's like new construction, right? When you first start off in a community, like that first home kind of sets the whole community. How do you then build off of that? If it's a brand new community, it's like, I feel like that's our environment, right? Because we're setting kind of the market for ourselves. So how do you do that as an appraiser?
Well, like new construction, they always start out low and then they just increase their base prices, which is driving us crazy right now because a lot of the builders are raising them like 20,000 every week now. It's just
Lot and on base price, yeah.
nuts. Yeah. Yeah.
Really drives the buyers crazy.
Oh yeah.
So let me ask, a lot of the purchases that we see in the 350 to 400,000, 325 to 375 range are institutions that are in town paying cash. And they're typically paying 10, 12, 15,000 above whatever list price is, like they're paying what they need to get the properties. And they're cash. So how does that affect are you using that as that closes, you go out, there's 3 cash deals that are the most recent sales in that subdivision because that's one they're targeting? Are you using cash because there's no appraisals done there?
Yeah, as long as we can verify that it was a real sale, we'll use it.
What's a fake sale?
Huh?
What would not be a real sale meaning?
Well, I mean, like, if it was not recorded or whatever, but as long as it's recorded, we have to have 2 verification sources. So if it's new construction, we can use the county records and the sales agent.
Got it. But you can use cash. Todd, your question was if you can use cash as a comp.
So we could get an appraisal that says the 3 sold comps are cash deals, nothing there. Because as agents, we often look at, or I do, I don't know if everybody does, but I'll look at comps and go, well, this one was appraised at that value, this one was appraised at this value, and then here's some cash ones that are a little bit higher, and there were no appraisals. And so I'm just always curious, does the appraiser care if the closing had an appraisal done on it or not?
Yeah.
It sounds like no.
Nope.
You wouldn't really know. How do you know if on a
In the MLS,
it tells you what appraisal
type was.
Oh, okay, and what did appraise for?
Any conventional VA, it had an appraisal done.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I don't know specifically what the appraisal came in at, but I have to assume that it's relatively close to the sales price.
Sales price, got it. Yes, go ahead. Sorry.
Hi, good morning. My question is in regards to custom versus track, RV parking versus RV hookup versus RV garage. As far as value, what kind of enhancements can we look at across the board for that?
That's a tough one. First of all, custom to custom, right? And it just, everything's about the location and the area. Like if you're in the hills up there where you live, where everybody's got the RV stuff, it's worth quite a bit, but somewhere else, not so much. So it's just all what the area will demand. I'm sorry, I can't give you any kind of numbers.
Specifically, let's just say it is a track home and in the listing, it's marketed as RV parking versus someone that has a full setup, slab, hookup.
Garage. So in the community, you basically have 3 options. You have one with just the RV area, and then you have one that you can get the slab with the hookup, and then you have one that will build the full-on garage for you. How does that, in the same subject, because I think D.R. Horton offers that, right?
That's perfect.
Yeah. How do you compare the 3?
I've just got to compare them with like properties.
What else is out there? Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I can't give you any kind of numbers, but it's just like RV garage to an RV garage.
Yeah. So you'd have would you make an adjustment if there's only an RV garage and then you have a home that has just the RV hookups?
Oh, sure.
You'd
Yeah,
adjust
no,
that?
absolutely, yeah. Any kind of enhancement is worth something, yes, absolutely.
So with respect to enhancements, in a tract home subdivision, let's say we've got a property that they have on the inside of their home done a massive amount of upgrades. Is that something, because maybe the other neighbors, if you've got a model match, but they don't have those upgrades, how do you account for?
Oh, yeah, no, sure, anytime there's any kind of enhancements, it will increase the value. It doesn't, again, I can't put numbers on it, just depends where it's at, but sure, like an upgraded kitchen is worth more than, a standard.
Do you do that like by percentages, sort of how you do the lot square footage, depending on?
Right, yeah, it's all percentages.
Okay.
So is it like a spreadsheet that you just go through and you just add in square footage and stuff like that? Or is it more like you're composing an essay, putting all this stuff together?
It's both.
It's both?
Yeah.
Okay, because there's a lot of stuff in there. You don't write every single thing in there, right?
No.
Some of it is...
No, I have computer programs that do a lot of stuff.
Okay. So back in the days, everybody used to look at, there's a section in the appraisal that says increasing, declining, stable. So are we, you know what I'm talking about in that?
That's the 1004MC form.
1004MC form. Got that, everyone? So what are you seeing in, I guess, across the valley? Is it all increasing across the valley, or are there some areas that are stable?
No, it's all increasing.
Okay, you're not seeing any that are declining, right?
Not yet.
No, not yet?
No.
Are you
I have seen some small indicators that look like it might be starting to turn, but it might just be outliers.
What are those indicators? Just slow down of...
Like days on market and list to sell price, stuff like that. But I mean, it's just, they're outliers right now.
So what is your full appraisal process? So you get an order from a lender, right? You then, it sounds like you set the appointment, then what happens?
Then the first thing we do is we gather all the information we can about the subject, that we see if we've done the plan before. So I've been doing this for a long time, so I've got plans on almost everything. So we start a file, the file gets thicker and thicker, and then when we do the inspection, note everything that we see, and then we compile the comps. We go out and look at all the comps, take pictures and all that good stuff, and then we just write the report. Do all the market analysis, all that good stuff, and then submit it to you guys. Well, submit it to the MC, and they submit it to Fannie, and then they submit it to you.
So that's why it takes, like, in normal turn times, that's five business days typically for us to get receipt of it once it's been ordered. So usually you're getting into an inspection within about 72 hours.
Yep.
And then the report gets to us within 48 to 72 hours, right? Oh my gosh, I was just gonna ask you a question on that. Any questions out there for Harry?
Beta's got one.
Beta.
If a seller puts 20K in renovations, what percentage will that add to the property?
It depends. Just kidding.
Say that again.
This isn't the legal update.
If a seller puts in $20,000 in upgrades, what effect would that have on the value?
It would, again, it all depends where it's at, how long ago they did it, how nice a job it was.
And what it was, probably.
And what it was, right?
Yeah.
The two biggest value drivers are kitchens and baths as far as upgrades.
Interesting.
That is interesting.
Go ahead,
On
Connie.
that, on the upgrades, if the seller has kept the receipts of that work or whatever, does that help their role, or do you
Yeah.
you go by your formula? Like
No,
if you put in a formula-
The more information you can provide to an appraiser, the better.
And do we need to contact the appraiser directly or go through the lender if there is one on that property?
I'd go to the appraiser directly.
If there's what on the property?
If there's, I don't know, maybe a cash buyer might want an appraiser, so whether there's a lender or not on the deal, will we go through the lender or directly to the appraiser?
I've done a lot of appraisals for cash buyers.
Yeah, I always send, you can have his, I was just joking about giving his information. He's very open to sharing that. And I'll always pass that along to any of the agents who always ask. This is Harry, who, at Benchmark Appraisals. And any questions you have. He also works on List Assist, right? So that's one other opportunity. If you have a home that you're wanting just additional types of comps on, it's an automated resource for you. Just send over in the subject line, list assist, the address, and then we can get that pulled for you and sent over to you. Do you have a question, Maria?
I don't, but now that you call on me.
Yes.
I was wondering, is there somewhere where there could be like like you said, like a nice spreadsheet or a piece of something that kind of says like, when you do this kind of upgrading, adds approximately this much to your value? Just something where we know and what we can tell our sellers, like, hey, look, don't do the kitchen, don't do the living room if you only have this much to spend. You know what I mean? So it might help us to kind of guide them towards a better pricing.
So you've got a seller today, potentially wants to sell the home, but the home may be a little bit run down. Maybe they're wanting to renovate before they do it. You're wanting to impact them by saying, hey, maybe if you did the kitchen or you did the bathroom, is there anything
I
that...
want a list of how much everything would add to value, or percentage.
Increase.
Yeah, there's no list. It has. Someone actually approached me one time and said that an appraiser gave them a list that had specific dollar amounts, and that is no.
No. Maybe a range or something like that. Monica?
Does it make a difference on a garage? If the garage is just, sheetrock, you got the tape and a little bit of texture and it's not painted, or if it's a fully finished garage, does that?
Finished or unfinished?
It's not going to make a whole lot of difference because we wouldn't include that as livable. It's just, car storage basically.
But as
I mean,
that one could be considered a value to have.
Not really a value driver.
How would you value a 14-car garage in a 3-bedroom home? What does that look like for anybody? No such thing, right? I've been trying to find that unicorn for a long time, actually.
It's a unicorn.
That's my own special home. Any other questions for Harry? Yes, Sonia.
Real quick, what about attic access in a garage on an appraisal? FHA, still an issue?
On an FHA, they're going to be looking for fire safety, so if it's, as long as it's fire rated, you're going to be fine. But if it's like a hole, then they're going to have to fix it.
A hole inside of like the garage area?
Yeah,
or
because the garage is the primary fire area in a home, and so that's why it's 5/8 sheetrock. And it has to be petitioned from the main living area. And if a fire can go up through the attic and...
That's even why the door and all that stuff has to be, it's one condition.
The door has to be self-closing, it has to be fire rated.
Okay.
So this is a personal question, sort of. I have a ginormous closet in my house, lucky me, but also that's where my clothes hang, so I don't want to drag them around the house to just iron them. So I'm trying to convince my husband to put an outlet in the closet so I can do ironing in there. Is that, is it a code violation? Is there anything that says I shouldn't put an outlet in my closet?
As long as it has a view.
Yeah.
Extra $200,000 for that outlet, by the way.
Okay, great.
That's, just kidding. Oh my.
No appraiser's going to be looking at outlets and stuff like that, so you'd be fine.
Harry, years ago, and it probably still is the truth now, there was the FHA guideline book. It's like 400 pages of all of the things that have to happen.
Yeah, the latest version is 4,000.1.
Are you serious?
Couple pages. We read it every night.
But it used to have, those items like you're talking about where fire safety, so you can still get that publicly, right?
Yeah, it's online. Mm-hmm.
So that should answer Monica's question.
And what would,
So I know turn times and everything, because that is something that we're seeing, obviously, with timelines. The refinances have slowed down, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you're saying sales have been up, or the same, steady?
There's lots of sales, John.
Yeah. What's your, what are you seeing as far as turning in a report? Is it the same that it's been, or is it taking longer, or?
Turn times? Mm-hmm. It's about the same.
The same?
A week for us, probably.
A week across the board? Okay. Because that is one thing. I know now with the appraisal contingencies going, some people are waiving those. We're wanting to get the appraisals in sooner. You have the option also to expedite an appraisal, right? Mm-hmm. To get an inspection done. Yep. What's the fastest you've ever gotten an appraisal done?
24 hours.
24 hours? What is that? Is it an extra like $200 to?
I usually charge double for that.
Double. And what about?
Send all you want.
You heard her first. What about our custom homes? Are those? How do you? Like if they're in the 1, 2, 3, $7 million, is it based off of the $1 million amount?
Fee-wise or
Fee-wise, yeah.
time-wise?
Both.
Yeah, everything's increased. Like, I usually take a couple of weeks for, the multi-million dollar ones, just because it takes so much longer.
But we have to close it in 30 days and we have to get a review. So how would you make that happen, Harry?
I guess you gotta pay the appraiser.
Got to double up on that payment. So you heard that. So for jumbo loans, that's what, anything over 600 or $1 million?
I think it's $1 million.
$1 million?
That's your business.
No, I mean, jumbo for us is over 548, but I mean, where it takes a longer period of time.
Usually,
right, about $1 million.
usually anything under like $1 million, we're pretty quick with.
Okay. But anything over, just be prepared. If you're doing your high-end financing for over, getting close to $1 million or over, it is going to take you extra time, as well as we typically have to do a desk review or a second appraisal on those higher-end homes. Yes.
I'm new, so I'm just gonna ask that.
What's your name?
Sherilyn.
Sherilyn, welcome.
Thank you. If it's a cash buyer and they want an appraisal, you don't get to pick your appraiser if you're financing, so how do you get to you if it's a cash buyer?
If it's a cash buyer, you can pick whatever appraiser you want.
Okay.
I do lots of cash sales.
Okay.
Does the buyer then get to use that as a negotiating tool when it comes in short?
On a cash deal?
Yeah. If they didn't say we're gonna pay whatever?
And
Yeah.
It depends.
They have
It's subject
before.
to appraisal. If it's subject to appraisal, then absolutely.
If they don't say it's not, then it is.
You can always ask. You can always
Right.
negotiate anything in the contract all the way up to when it closes. Doesn't mean both parties are going to want to do it, but you can always ask.
All right, so has this been helpful for you guys?
hell yeah.
Awesome. So I want to thank Harry. He does have to actually run out and do one of our appraisals, but thank you so much for always coming out and being such a joy. And I'll give give his information if you guys have any questions. You can always reach one of our Prosperity Lending loan officers. We have him on speed dial. But thank you again. Have an amazing week. Oh, we got some stash here. We got business cards here. So thank you, Harry.
Yeah,
Thank you, guys.
I'm always happy to answer any questions. If you guys just give me a call, and if you got a tough one, need some help with, happy to do it.
Perfect. Awesome. Have a great week, guys.
Go Knights.
Go Knights, go. Yes, go Knights, go.